So the afternoon, the next bit that we have, as you have on your programs, is we're going to talk about the courage to relate. And many times when people talk about relationships, sometimes you're talking about girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband. But we might zoom in on that, but the nuggets that we're going to share really have to do more than just about that. It's about relationships. Yeah? So I would say 80% of what we're going to share about is going to is talking about relationships that can potentially head towards commitment, and from commitment can potentially head towards marriage. And we're going to share our story. And when it gets to your time to ask questions, I don't want you guys to just sort of beat around the bush. We don't have too much time. So I'm going to ask you guys to just dig deep, ask the questions that you normally wouldn't have asked your mom or dad. This is your time, okay, to ask that. So we're going to do that in Courage to Relate. And then the next bit is going to be led by Diana Luboyera, Serukenya. And that will be covering, as you've seen on the program, the what, the when, and the how. We'll dig deeper into what those bits mean when we go into that section. And then in the last bit, we're going to talk reflections and closing remarks. I think at the end of each section, we'll try and this time have all the questions relating to that section to be done at the end of the segment. Yeah, that's the plan. Okay, so shall I invite my lovely wife, Grace, to stand with me, and we're going to talk you through this. So this is our session. So what we're going to cover in our section is, Grace and I are going to talk about our journey. We'll take a few bits out of that. And then we're going to talk about our perspective on commitment, what me committing to you, Grace, has meant, and what you committing to me has meant, some tools that we've learned along the way. And then we're also going to talk about communication, how we communicate with each other. If you find a relationship where someone tells you that, oh, we've never ever had a fight, ever, take it with a pinch of salt. Yes. So hopefully we'll cover that, because really amongst communication, we're going to cover conflict resolution. We'll take just small bits and pieces out of that, and hopefully the questions you ask are the ones that will enable us to open out a bit more on what's within the content in the sections. And then we're going to call two or three couples to the front, and I will be working with Grace for them to tell us their story about how they met, what happened behind the scenes, so that you can kind of take some notes out of that. And then you're going to ask questions, and we're also going to ask questions to them, and that's the plan. Are we ready? Are we good to go? Yes. Okay, so our journey. When did we get married, babes? How long?
Yeah, we got married 28 years ago, and I actually met Paul when I was 15. I was in S2. He came as one of the S5s, and he was our choir leader. And I had a bit of a crush on him, but at that time, I didn't know that it was a crush, because I was going to a very Christian school, and, you don't get those feelings. They were taboo, So I got these feelings, and I didn't know what to do with these feelings. I prayed for the feelings to go away, and the feelings disappeared. But I remember in my S4, we were in the dormitory, and girls were talking about the kind of guys they would marry, and everyone was saying, oh, I'd marry a guy like Denzel Washington. I'd marry Eddie Murphy. I said I'd marry a guy like Paul, not knowing that 5 years later...
Take your time. I'm enjoying this.
Not knowing that 5 years later, I'm going to meet him in England, and we are going to meet at a wedding, sit together for the longest time, talk, and we've been talking since then for 29 years now, actually, because we got married we met in 1994, engaged in 95, 96 we got married, 97 we had Tendo, then we continue. Exactly. We had the girls.
Three of them are sat on that table over there. We got Tendo over there, Sanyu, and then we got Subi, and then now Tendo's married to our lovely daughter, Bumi.
Yeah,
so we have, there you go.
Yeah, 4 girls now. So, yeah. So that's us. That's a bit of our story. And...
what, in your view, does commitment mean to you? Hands up.
To me, commitment means liking something at first and then sticking to it even when it gets difficult.
Okay. Awesome. That's good. And by the way, now because let's narrow down this conversation now. So we're talking about commitment in the context of when you say something. So if it's a girl, we're talking about hopefully a boy, right? And if it's a boy, we're talking about hopefully a girl, right? So let's rephrase that. In the narrow context of the conversation we're having now about relationships, so commitment, as you rightly put it, is about when you find something, someone, and you find that really, you know what, this is the one I feel, as far as is in my control, because things can go wrong, would be the person that I would like to spend the rest of my life. You said, that's the one I'm going to go with. Am I kind of there? Yeah? All right, let's go around. That's a good one.
In my opinion, commitment has a lot to do with patience concerning someone. If you've found the person that you think you want to be with for the rest of your life, commitment is about being patient with that person and understanding that person deeply.
Nice. Very good. Over there, there's one more.
Thank you very much. I'm loving this story.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a quote. I don't remember the author of the quote, but it's a definition of commitment that I'm going to go with. Commitment is doing what you said you would do, when you said you would do it, even long after the desire to do it is gone. The desire you had to do it when you said you'd do it is gone. Thank you very much.
There you go.
That's a great definition.
Do you want to take the stage then? That's very good. Okay. That's very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me tell you about one individual who seems to have taken commitment to another level. Who do you think was committed? The chicken or the pig? Who was committed? The chicken, all the chicken had to do was lay the egg.
He survived. She
survived, right? What the pig had to do
is die.
By the time
the pig gave all, the chicken just gave something.
By the time the pig ended up here, he was no more. But the chicken, all they did was lay the egg and was there, but the chicken stays there. So I'll ask the question again.
The chicken was dedicated.
Who is the more committed, the chicken or the pig? Oh, commitment really means dying to self.
Yeah.
You're like, that's it. This is what I'm going to do. Everything else is secondary. So that's what we did. When we got married, we used to, for me, I liked so much to be on the right-hand side of the bed. So now I just feel so wrong. Can you go back to that side? Now I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. All right, there you go. So next slide is going to sort of throw, again, a few bits on our journey. We'll be able to show you what we looked like in 1996. And blah, 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 filling out the gaps.
1995. So we actually Paul did a surprise for me. He engaged me at a friend's wedding. He was the best man. And they kept telling me to sit in a certain area, like where you're seated, purely because the mic could only go up to that place. So I kept wondering why they're telling me to sit in a certain place. But anyway, at the end of his best man speech, he came walking towards me singing a song, Make Me
a Happy Home.
Yeah, One You'll Come Running To.
One You'll Come Running To.
Yeah.
That was the end of my best man speech. And I could see her face. She was saying, no.
Yeah, I was like, I couldn't believe that he's going to propose.
It was like 400 people.
Yeah, 400 people. So he knelt down and asked me to marry him.
And she said yes.
Yes.
Isn't that sweet? Yeah, but I must tell you, when I turned about the age of 14, 15, I said to myself that for as long as is in my control, I will never tell a girl the words that I love you, unless for as long as it's in my control, that's the girl that I'm going to marry. And that's a very good footnote, because sometimes you might say I love you to somebody, and really, to be honest, it doesn't quite work out. But for my sake, for myself, I decided I will reserve those words. So when you can imagine, now that's from age of 14, now I'm 26, 25, 26.
25 even, actually.
I bump into Grace, and I'm like, can I really use these words now? So the first words I told you, Grace, was, I think.
He said, I think I like you. He didn't even tell me that he likes me. He said he thinks he likes me. So I told him I like you too.
Listen, it took a lot of courage. Have I got any single guys in this place, or is it just me? Yeah? You know when you meet the girl and you think that, hey, no, that's the one I'm going to probably sort of throw a line or two, and then you have to come up with your first line? Man, ladies, it's hard being a guy, so sometimes you have to be flex, man. Help us out.
He was actually sweating when he told me he thinks he likes me.
Yeah, it took me 2 movies.
Yes. So we went to the movies to watch one of Eddie Murphy's films. I don't remember which. No, we went to watch, one of Eddie Murphy's films, Beverly Hills, blah, blah, blah. I don't remember what it was. But we ended up watching a movie called Maverick. I can tell you I don't remember what that movie was about because Paul was fidgeting. He was fidgeting. He was trying to kind of do that and then not do that, and then he was trying to say something and then not say it. So then the movie ended, and I thought, you know what? We came here to watch Beverly Hills, and it was completely sold out. That's why we ended up watching Maverick. So I thought, you know what? Let me pay, because I could see that he's trying to tell me something. So I thought, let me pay for the next movie. So I paid.
Who lets a chick pay for a date? Right?
Why not?
Guys, come on. All right, fair enough. Well, it worked out for me. 28 years and counting, so it's all good.
I paid for that movie. We watched the movie, and towards the end, that's when he told me, I think I like you.
That was money well spent, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
I'm telling you.
So that happened.
Yes.
And what else did we do in between whilst they set up things? I love this woman so much that I decided, she was still in uni, and I'd started working then. Before we married, I made her joint signatory to my account.
Yeah. Yeah. Commitment.
Commitment.
That is commitment. Dying to self.
Listen, she was not earning a penny, but I knew that I was going to spend the rest of my life with this girl.
Yeah.
So I said, if we're going to learn about finances, and many times marriages break down, if you really get down to the bottom of it, it's because of financial issues. Either the guy he's struggling to find money for financial needs within the home, and then it means that the guy or the woman goes and has to do an extra job or 2 or 3, and you're never home. All because you're hustling just to try and to get the next penny that will pay the rent, or that will pay the school fees, or will pay the medical bills for a family relative, your dad or mom. In my case, my dad was on dialysis. Different people have different challenges in life. And these challenges take us away from the home environment. And what happens is, once you're in a relationship with someone and you have to get out of your home to try and hustle to get the next penny, it takes time away from you. And when you don't have time, how can you have a relationship with someone you don't spend time with? So you find people breaking down in terms of relating to each other because they don't have time to spend with each other. But when you get to the bottom of it, it's because they're looking for the next penny to keep the home together. So she says, but I'm not spending time with you. But he says, I can't be with you because I've got to find the next money that will pay for the rent. So what do? Do I stay home and we look at each other and yet we can't fix this problem? One of us has to go away, and then it becomes a fight. For her, she wants time. For me, I want the money to be able to keep the roof on top of our heads, but where can I win? Then you find couples stressed, looking for support, but because really they are ultimately, it's a financial challenge that they're having. So we thought that, you know what, let's make you a joint signatory to my account, and we learned a lot of things, didn't we?
Yes, and that's why we've actually even made sure that you guys have all the 2 sessions that you had before I'm sure you've learned a lot, because we know finances are one of the challenges that can come into marriages and relationships. But one thing we learned as well, being open and transparent about your finances is very, very important. You might not have a joint account, but it's important that you're transparent, because if you're not transparent, then that can create problems.
Absolutely.
Where are we now? But let's just get into the next topic, which is communication. We all know that communication, but let me just say this. Communication is oxygen to our relationship. Any relationship. Be it with your parents, with your friends, if you're not communicating, do you have a relationship? If you're not communicating to someone, you don't have a relationship, right? So it's important that we learn how to communicate with others. And one thing we know about relationships is that we all come from different backgrounds. You know, you see someone, I met Paul. When I had a crush on him, I didn't even know where he comes from. I didn't know that he comes from Bunamwaya. I didn't know what family he comes from, but my feelings were there. Do you see? And that's what happens. You see someone and feelings start to happen. And obviously they are going to have their own history, they're going to have their background, they're going to have whatever things they've grown up with. And these all come into their communication issues. Do you see what I mean? So it's important that we master the art of communicating with other people. Yeah?
Indeed.
So,
do you want to role play?
Yes, go on.
Okay, fair enough. So let's do a little bit of role play. How do you communicate with each other?
But before we do the role play, honey, what are hindrances to communication? Give me examples of what you think are hindrances to communication. Pride, yes.
Pride, okay.
Insecurities.
Insecurities. I saw a hand up there. Did I see a hand? No. Go on. Language barriers. Secrets. Any?
Friends with bad advice.
Yeah, bad advice from friends.
Lack of understanding of each other.
Lack of understanding from each other. Yeah. Different backgrounds. Low. So say that again. Low self-esteem, yeah. That could be barriers to communication. What physical barriers do you think can there be to communication? Go on.
It's not a physical barrier. I think personality types.
Personality types as well. People understand things differently. Absolutely. Any other barriers to communication? Time. Yeah. Communicating to someone while they're in the other room. Imagine you're next door and I'm shouting, hey, you know, shouting over walls. You know, those are all communication barriers. Communicating when you're angry. Yeah. Communicating when you're upset. Communicating when you're hungry. Do you know that sometimes you can't communicate properly when you're hungry? Imagine you're thinking of food and then someone's telling you to, you know, you can get angry with them. They call it, in England, they call it, what do they call it, guys? I can't even say it. When you're hungry and angry. Hungry, yeah, something like that. But yeah, so we need to, we've got the slides on now, so we can continue.
That's fine. So we are going to recap, baby, just to make sure we've not missed anything. So if you're just going to slide mode, and we'll be able to do that. Okay, so this is where we were, isn't it? Yeah, we already covered that, yeah? What commitment means. And yeah, we'll go to the next slide, please. And hey, that's it.
That's the moment I said yes.
I had quite a little bit of hair on my head, as you might imagine. That was 1995. I went on bended knee and I said, will you marry me? And what did you say, Dave?
Yes, I will.
I will. Yes, so that was 1995. And then next slide, we went on. Sorry, Isaac. There we go. It happened.
Yeah.
1996. The journey began.
Next slide.
I pulled the veil off her face. And there we go. That's 28 years and counting. And now we've covered some of the bits that we're going to already talking about. So we'll be very quick on these slides. Sanya, thank you. Communication. We've just said communication is to a relationship what oxygen is to life. We did that. And we also said when communication starts to fail, everything else follows. We all communicate differently, and we've covered the different ways of communication. And let's go to the next slide, because we covered quite a bit of this. Hindrances to good communication. We covered some of these. Failing to make time. I struggled with that sometimes, because I can be a busy guy sometimes, can't I?
Very busy guy.
And I struggled because Grace used to tell me, but I just want you to sit down. Just sit down. Sit down and spend, 10 minutes with me. So I was like, okay, so have I got any men who are in relationships here? Any married men? Any men in relationships? Yeah. Well, you don't want to give yourself away, right? All right, I'll spare you that one. But guys, I think maybe some of you might relate with me, especially if you're a busy guy. So Grace used to tell me that I just want you to just slow down for a minute. So I remember saying, okay, I'll give you time. So I would sit down on the bed and she'd be there. Then it's silence for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And I'm like, 10 minutes. I was like, oh my gosh, I really had to learn how to make time. Yeah. And I think for us, the way we've done it is we found that if you don't schedule time, you won't get the time to do it.
Yeah.
So we would, sometimes Grace puts something in my diary and says, oh, I do put something in the diary as well. And I say, this is what we're doing on this day for this time. Sometimes I get to a page in my diary and find she's already written something there, in there, for what we're doing together. So find your way of doing it, but you have to make time in order to be able to have a good relationship, okay? What else there did we cover? Failing to listen to each other. Yeah. We covered some of those. Going off tangent, yeah? Yes,
and in terms of listening, what we wanted to bring out was active listening. So we were going to do an example, a role model of active listening. Because sometimes we can hear people talk, but we don't listen to them. So I'm going to be the one who's not listening, and you're the one, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
You can go first.
You're talking to me.
I'm talking to you? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Han, I think we need to go and set some time apart because we have to go to Uganda.
Yes, but
January.
You remember Subi said that she needed to go to Croydon.
But we're talking about going to Uganda in January.
Okay, yeah, it's just, yeah, okay, go on. What were you saying?
So, so we're going to go to Uganda in January, and we have to take our children with us. I think we need to get prepared. We haven't got the money at the moment, but we need to save up some money.
I understand, but Kusubi said we're going to Croydon, and this is not urgent right now. What I needed to do, what I was trying to say is that we have to sort out Sue because she's waiting in Croydon. She's going to Croydon, and she needed us to take us. And so what you were saying was what?
But you're not listening to me.
Okay, so what were you saying?
We're talking about going to London. We can talk about Subi later. Right?
Okay, what were you saying?
We have to plan to go to Kampala together. I have to save some money. You and I have to save money. It's going to cost us £500 each ticket.
Okay, let me hear you correctly. Yep. What you're saying is that we need to plan to go to Kampala together.
Yes.
Then we need to save some money together.
Yes.
And then we need to... What else did you say?
Now I feel like the conversation can continue, yes. So yes, we need to... So how are we going to put that money together? Any ideas?
So, okay, maybe we could save up maybe £500 every month or something.
I was thinking I could also put in maybe an extra job, a few more hours, and hopefully by the time we get to January, we have enough money for the tickets. Okay,
so what you're saying that we need to is that we need to save money on a monthly basis together.
Thank you for listening to me. Now, about Subi, we can talk about that later. Okay, so first, I was trying to bring a point across, but I felt like she was not hearing me out on what I was saying. Does that?
Yes.
Yeah? And then ultimately, we got to a point where we all narrowed down, and the way I knew that she was listening to me is when she repeated to me what she had me say. So there's some feedback there. Yeah. So sometimes when we communicate, we need to allow the other person space to tell us what they hear us saying.
Okay. So we'll go to the next.
What about passive listening? Passive listening. So some people talk, and especially our younger generation, try to talk to me about something.
Han, I need to go to church tomorrow morning, but we have this meeting, so they've invited us to speak. Honey, are you listening?
Yeah.
They've invited us to speak. They've invited us to speak about marriage, and they want us to talk about conflict resolution. Han, did you hear what I said?
1 minute. What could be this one? Good. Luggage Mombasa.
But basically, what we're saying is that someone's not listening to you. They are with you all the time, but they are either on their phone or doing something or talking to someone else, or maybe listening to the news or watching TV. So that's passive listening. They are not giving you their full attention. So it's important that when you're talking, communicating with other people, you actually listen to them.
Especially now that you also have these gadgets to keep in your ear, right? I don't encourage you having these in the house, yeah? When you're at home, at least yeah? Take the thing out of your ear. You're home. Let's have a conversation, right?
Next, yeah.
Okay, so these are the hindrances to communication. These are the distractions that come with it.
Failing to talk about feelings is important. One thing we always say is that when you're talking, sometimes when someone is not hearing you, or when we'll touch on this in conflict resolution as well, when they've hurt you, it's important to say something like, when you did this, when you shouted at me in public, it made me feel belittled. Do you know what? Rather than say, why are you shouting at me in public? Do you know what I mean? When you come with an attack, someone's going to attack you back. So it's important that when you talk with your feelings. Say, when you did this, it made me feel like this. Yeah.
So, conflict resolution. The best sort of demonstration that we could find was that. Next slide.
So imagine that bottle is your emotions. Yeah. Now you wake up in the morning, and you just realize your alarm didn't go off. Your alarm didn't go off, so the bottle is shaking. Your alarm didn't go off, and then you run to the bathroom, the shower. There's no water today, no water in the shower. So you're not going to get your shower.
And someone moved my sandal from under the bed.
Exactly. Your wife or partner or friend or whatever sister has moved the shoes, the sandals that you want to wear around. So then now you go.
Your mobile phone charger is missing.
You're running late. You get in, your mobile phone charger is missing. You get into your car, and there's traffic everywhere. Now there's traffic. Actually, I'm going to tell you a story that's no word of a lie. So this woman gets into the car, and there's traffic everywhere. And then she goes home. Now she's waiting in the traffic. Now she needs to pee. Yeah, she needs to go to toilet. And she wants to go to McDonald's. There's too much traffic. She decides, you know what? I can't be bothered to stop. Let me just go home and do this at home. She gets home, and the husband, who loves DIY, had literally uprooted the toilet. He was doing DIY. So she couldn't even use the toilet at home. So she was boiling. So now, this is the lady. Of course, she's got issues. The husband has taken the toilet out. Now she's angry with him for all sorts of other reasons. Her emotions are literally like this Coke bottle.
And then she decides to communicate. Which is the best table that I love here?
Shall we open this bottle now? Do you want us to open this bottle? What do you think will happen when we open this bottle now? Everything will explode. And when things explode, they come out, and it doesn't remain the same, isn't it? That's what happens with our emotions. When we go and pour out, now you're angry. When you speak when you're angry, you're going to say things, they are going to come out, and they are going to stay out. Do you see what I mean? And they are going to damage some people. So it's important that rather than open your mouth at that time, take a step back.
Yeah, if we let this wait for another maybe day.
Yeah, count. You could even do just counting 1, 2, up to 10 to calm your emotions down.
And that could vary.
Wait.
For some people, it could be 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Others,
depending on, how angry you are or how you feel. Sometimes it just takes that moment not to say the wrong thing at the wrong time. Do you see what I mean? So just calm your emotions. And once the emotions are calm, are you happy for me to open this bottle now? Absolutely. Well, maybe not. But maybe it needs more time. But you know what I mean? But it's in a better state than it was before. Yeah? So that's the illustration about conflict. But one thing I wanted to talk about conflict in relationships as well is that the way we speak. Yesterday I was talking to some young ladies, and I was saying that you can have two relationships. with exactly the same conflict, the same issue. But one relationship survives and another one doesn't. Why? It's because of the way that a particular couple handled a relationship. So you can have, I don't know what scenario I can give, but just imagine a conflict that's exactly the same. But what happens is that the Bible even tells us that in your anger, do not sin. So when you're angry, do not sin. What do I mean by that? Is that sometimes when we are angry, we're going to say things like, oh, what kind of woman are you? What kind of man are you? Who does this? Because sometimes we think that sinning or abusing someone is saying swear words. Sometimes some people think that if I don't say the swear words, I haven't abused. Do you know I can abuse you by looking at you? I can give you that look that really abuses you. Do you know what I mean? I can look you up and down and tell you that you're nothing when I haven't said a single word. Does that make sense? So we can do that as couples. We can do that in relationships. We can do that to our friends, our relatives. Do you know what I mean? So it's important that when we are communicating, when we are trying to resolve conflict, we do not hurt others. If you're bringing up an issue, rather than say, hey, you did this, you never do this, you never help me. I used to do that a lot with Paul. I'd say something like, oh, you haven't helped me with the dishes. You never helped me with the dishes or something. But it's not that he never, it's just that he hasn't, like for the last few days. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes especially maybe women, we tend to generalize a lot of things. But I'm not even just putting this to women. I'm just putting it out there to anybody, do you know, because we can all do this. And then the other thing was that we talked about using our feelings, so I won't go back into that, using your feelings. But then the other thing I found that helped us as a couple is that in a state of conflict, first of all, I need to know that, is this the right time to bring up this conversation? Yeah? When we had just got married, I used to be a sauka. Oh my gosh, you upset me, I'm not gonna not talk to you for like 3 days. Even when Paul would try to make me laugh, I would refuse to laugh. I'm like, I'm not, because I'm angry. Do you know what I mean? But what I realized is that the longer I took, the more he'd forget what the issue was. So then I would get back to him. It's like, honey, you did this, blah. He cannot remember anything, and that would upset me. So I learned how to deal with the issues. I gave up sulking because that wasn't working in my home. I gave up sulking, that wasn't working. So we would deal with issues if we are able to deal with them at the time, if we are not boiling. Do you see what I mean? Because we learned that if we are boiling, we're going to park the situation. We tell ourselves that, you know what, we are not ready to talk about this. We're going to park it so that we don't talk about issues that are going to just make us scream and shout at each other. But when we are calm and we are ready, we can talk about it. Then in terms of conflict resolution as well, the other thing that helped us was starting a conversation. If I need to bring something up with Paul, I'm going to say, honey, I could be wrong, but this, that, and the other. Then that way someone is not going to feel like they need to defend themselves. Because if I say, why did you move the car to the other place and then you do you know what? That's already an attack. Someone is going to feel like they have to have their guards up. It's a natural response. If you attack someone, they are going to come back with an attack.
They'll be like, whoa,
it's
whoa,
natural.
Whoa, whoa,
exactly.
Whoa.
Yeah. So,
Slow
but
down.
if you come, I could be wrong, but I think you didn't, you moved the car the wrong way. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Or maybe somebody else did it. Mm-hmm. So those are the things that have helped us in times of conflict resolution.
Yeah. So, and sometimes you have to extend grace to yourself, right? Because we've all grown up in different environments. Yeah, we're all a product of the environments that we've been raised up in. So in some families, especially, okay, let's talk about geographical locations. Yeah, in England versus Africa. Now I've grown up in the two environments, especially England. White people, the way they sometimes deal with their children, their disciplining is by having a conversation. They say, you know what, James? I don't think it's a good idea for you to turn your plate over on the table. Do you think that was good? No. So can you kindly move that plate and please put it back where it should be? Now, let's come to Africa, man. Yeah. The guests are at the table and the kid just goes and turns the plate over. I kind of identifies with that. Now,
in between.
Now you get this African boy or girl and he goes and marries someone from a different geographical location. Or let's get this Muganda boy, and then he goes and marries someone else from let's say another Musoga person. And the cultures are different in which they raise their own children. So you as an individual are a product.
As a couple.
Are a product of the environment that you grow in. So extend grace to yourself, because if we go to the next slide, you'll see that there are different types of personalities and how we handle. Understand yourself. That what tips me off? Because sometimes some people are like rhinos.
Come charging.
They just come charging. Let me let her finish what she has to say. Sometimes they don't even let you finish. They say, okay, now. I heard you, but hey. So if you know that you're a rhino, yeah, you know what you have to work with in order to bring you down to a level playing ground.
Yeah.
A hedgehog, what? I haven't seen hedgehogs in here. Anyone seen any hedgehog around here? Maybe in the zoo? Yeah? What hedgehogs do is once you attack a hedgehog, the thing just curls up and goes inside of a shade. Sometimes you have men who are hedgehogs married to women who are rhinos.
And vice versa.
I started it that way. Yeah? And then you find also vice versa. Women who are hedgehogs getting married to men who are rhinos. And what ends up happening is that you create a prison for yourself. Imagine starting off going on bended knee, hey, I love you, and everything. But when the doors close after like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, their life has mutated into something else. So we need to extend grace to ourselves, first of all, by understanding what kind of animal we are, and then dealing with it.
Yes. And I think it's important that when you learn, just going back to commitment, is that when you get into a relationship, understand that things are not going to be perfect. Things are not going to be perfect, but you're going to work through them together. Because I think some people are under the perception that marriage is supposed to be one blissful, happy, but it cannot be, because we are different human beings. And if you can argue with your brother or sister, or even your parent, what makes you think that you're not going to argue with your spouse? So let's try and take away the perception that because something is not as good as you want it to be at a particular time, that it cannot be better. You can work on it, you can make it better, you can spice it up, you can do things, you can get guidance, you can get direction, you can get, you can attend seminars like this where people talk about things like this. These have been very, very helpful to us. So, exactly. and you do not have to be in isolation. One thing that the enemy likes to use is to use isolation. It makes you feel that you're the only one going through something. Yeah, even, whatever stage you are in terms of relating to other people, you might think that you're the only one, but there are so many other people going through the same thing. And the other thing is as well, I think understand who you are and just allow yourself to be. I'm going to give you an example of a couple that used to call us. They're a very good friends of ours, but they would call us like maybe we communicate maybe once every 3 months. It just so happened that for about 3 times that they called us, Paul and I were going to a movie. Yeah. Now we communicate once every 3-4 months. Yeah. And then the girl goes and complains to her husband, "Han, every time I call these guys, they're going to a movie. You don't take me to movies, blah, blah, blah." It turns out they actually go to more movies than we do. It's just that she's calling me at the time we're going to the movie. It's just a coincidence. So she's comparing herself to us, but we are not actually going to as many movies as they do. They're actually, in terms of movies, they're in a better place than we are. So I think also just being comfortable in who you are, and accepting yourself for who you are and what your relationship is, and not thinking that the grass is always greener in that other relationship. Yeah?
Yes, so I would say continue to, as this is the last thing, because we're going to go on to the last bit, is one thing that's helped us is we are very intentional in investing in seminars such as this. And dare I say, paid for.
Yes. And one thing we need to advise is that people, you guys have studied, all of you have studied something. Do you know what I mean? You've got to school, primary, secondary, university. You've studied all sorts of things. How many of you have gone to studies about relationships? How many of you have gone to lectures or how many? Yeah, I know Tendo and Bumi, you have. How many? Yeah. It's mostly people who are going to get married, and even with people who are going to get married, some of them don't. When we were getting married, we had, how many? 6 hours? 6 hours of marriage counseling by one person, not even a couple. Do you see what I mean? So you don't even get two perspectives of what you're going to expect in the future. So, and yet, we are expected to be married for life. Do you see what I mean? All the jobs that we are training for, we don't even have to stay in them for life. But we are expected to be married for life until death do us part. But no one trains us about marriage. Yeah? No one trains us about marriage, but we are expected to be married for life. So it's important that you take moments like this and invest in learning about relationships. Yeah?
Fantastic. So, without further ado, we're going to invite some couples.
Yes.
And they're going to come to the front. And then I think that's going to be the best time to open up the audience, yeah? Yes. And this is, can I invite our couples?
Pastor Isaac and Pastor Janet. Serukenya. Then we've got Mr. and Mrs. Luboyera. And then we've got Naya and Yvonne. Come up. Thank you for cheering them on.
Okay, so are you guys ready? Are you learning something? Yeah? And I hope you don't chicken out when it gets to asking questions, yeah?
Perfect.
I was talking to the boys yesterday. We had our little boy session, and the girls had their own girl session in a different conversation we're having. And once we thought we were all said and done, I asked the boys, man, you've asked me everything but you haven't asked me about dating. I'm like, okay. I said, man, don't waste my time. Ask me the real stuff. So guys and ladies, now you have a wealth of information here. None of these guys just walked into a relationship. 28 years. Diana and Tony, how long have you been married?
15.
15 years. We're going to move the mic across, and the same question goes to everybody. How long have you been married?
A year and a half, I think.
1 year and a half? There you go. And how long have you been married?
24 years this year.
There you go. You have 24, you have 15, you have 28, you have 1.5. Yeah? Listen, ask us questions. Okay. So I think the best place to start is, who's got the mic? Yeah, well, fair enough. All right, so I'm going to ask your pastors embarrassing questions. No, I'm only kidding. Listen, we're here so that the mistakes that we made, you guys don't have to go and do the same things, yeah? And also, remember the thing I said in the start, this is not church. Huh? Church ended. Now this is life class. Yeah? So don't be saying like, oh, how will they see when pastor hears me asking a question like this? No. Now this is the real life class. So Isaac and John, can you kindly talk us through your love story? Like, where did it begin? Woo! They all go. And I'm going to ask, maybe summarize it in like 3 to 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay. So, what's your... No one's going to escape from this one, yeah? I'm holding the microphone. What's your perspective? And I'll fact check it through John. All right.
Well, I first met her I was in senior 6, I think, Tubusoga College, Muiri.
Were you a Christian?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yes, I was. But then at that time, the interesting thing is that I actually did not know that it was her until much later. Because they had come from Gayaza on one of these social events. And so she came to, there was a moment for the Gayaza girls to do a presentation, and then she came up with a poem. All I remember is a girl with a lot of hair. reciting a poem, which later on in life, long story short, I discovered was her. Then next time we met was at Makerere. Makerere, she joined Miracle Center, she joined the choir. Then I married her. What a
That's
shortcut.
cheating. We need the story.
Is that 3 minutes?
I think let's hand the mic to Jan now.
Actually, yeah.
Let's hand the mic to Jan.
Okay, I'll just fill in a few spots here
Yes,
and
please.
there. So later in my life, I discovered that my husband actually had a photo of me on the stage at Mwiri from that time when we had gone to do ministry there. And I didn't see him that day. So we were introduced later when we were at the university by the youth pastor at Miracle Center. He was a very good friend of mine and a very good friend of his, but we hadn't met. So that day we were going to check on another friend in Livingston, and we met him on the stairs. And so the friend introduces us and told him that I need to be in the choir. I wasn't even praying at Miracle Center then. I was at Watoto Church. And I was like, well, life moved on. But just a few things that I remember that stood out for me. There was this day I was coming from the library and I wanted to call my dad. So mobile phones were very, very rare in our time. But we had phone booths at the halls. So when I wanted to talk to my dad, I'd go to the phone booth and call him. So I walked to the phone booth to call my dad, and I find him standing in the lobby of our hall. So I'm like, hi, because we had been introduced. And then he says, oh, hi. And then you know how someone like pauses and you can see that they want to talk to you. Mm-hmm. So I also pause because you have to be a bit polite. Then he's holding his books. So he was holding books. So I asked him, oh, you've come for a discussion. There were several of the engineering students in the hall. And he said, actually, no, I came to see you. In my heart, I was like, huh? Because what? You don't know me? So I asked him to see me. Then he says, yeah. So I'm like, okay, let me stand here and you see me here. So we stand, we chat for a while and what? Then I tell him, you know what? I had actually come down to call my dad. So let me go and make the call before the booth goes off. So he says, okay, it was nice to see you, bye. And he actually turns around and goes out and goes to Livingston. I kept, thinking about it and saying, but this guy. Something. So that's one of the incidents. The other one, I'm in my bed sleeping. In my first year, I was in a room with 2 third-year girls. So being the junior one, you're trying to do everything right. You don't want to make any mistakes with the big girls. So it's like midnight. I'm in my room. I've just gotten into bed. There's a knock at that door. Of course, I'm the young one. I go to open that door. I open that door, and these friends of ours, including that friend Philip who had introduced us, are standing outside, 3 of them. I'm like, what are you guys doing here? First of all, the hall gates are locked at midnight and guys are not allowed to come in. So I'm like, what kind of bribe did they give the warden to allow them to come in? So I'm like, what are you doing here? And I'm trying to whisper and what? And they're just laughing and they're so happy. And they're like, we were given a delivery and we were told that it must come tonight at the cost of our lives. So I'm like, uh-huh. So they hand me a pack of food. Those days, the popular place around campus was called Tipsy. No, Chicken Tonight came later. I think it was called Tipsy. So he had bought me chicken from Tipsy. And they had to deliver it.
Guys, are you taking notes?
There's power in chicken.
I'm just like, my goodness, what is going on here? And my friends are just having that time of their, like they're finding it so funny. And I'm like, but you guys are like, hey, we brought the chicken. So anyway, the warden came for them and they had to get out. I packed that one. I couldn't eat the chicken at that time. I couldn't eat it the next morning, unfortunately. I'm sorry, honey. Yeah, but it was the gesture that counted, right? So there were small incidents like that over a period of time. And then I was praying at Watoto, but I was not in ministry. So my friend Philip invites me for a youth service at Miracle Center, and I go. And I find all these mad, crazy people. You know, people are lifting chairs in the air. I'm like, my God, what is happening here? But for the first time, I kind of felt like alive. You know how you walk into a place and you feel like you have some place of belonging. People who are young like myself, but they are not embarrassed about their relationship with God. And I found it fascinating. So I kept going back for youth meetings. So I would come from Watoto, from the service, then I would go to Miracle Center in the afternoon for the youth meetings. And I started to kind of stay. So eventually I started coming for the services. So when I come, because he had been told I can sing, he kept saying, come and join the choir, come and be in the choir. So one day I say, okay, when you're going, pick me up and we go together. So that's how I got into the choir. And of course, getting into the choir gave me opportunity to get to know him better. And gave him opportunity to make his point. Yeah, so to cut the long story short, one day he tells me that there's something he wants to tell me. And I'm a very sort of happy-go-lucky person. Like I live the day as it comes. So I never really sit down and overthink things. So when he told me that he wanted to tell me something, because he had become a friend, like all my other friends, if they want to talk to me, I make that time. So I go to his room. He has prepared tea. What? He was being like Paulo, very nervous, fidgety, what? I'm like, what's going on here? Anyway, So we have our tea. He's put on this nice music. He used to have all the CDs of all the nice music you can imagine. So he's put on Sounds of Blackness, I don't know what. So we talk, we have our tea. Then he gets a small piece of paper out and he tells me, so the thing that he wants to tell me, he doesn't know how to talk a lot, but he knows how to sing and he would like to sing it. So he had written a song for me. Yeah, and he sang the song for me, and I was telling God, like, 1,000 words in my head in that minute. I said, God, we had an agreement. I told you, be a fence around my heart. Don't allow me to what. Now what's happening? What's happening, God? What am I going to do? So what do I answer? You know, I had like a million things going through my head. But when he finished telling me, I told him I'll think about it. And I immediately went, and the next morning I left campus. He said many things. We sang that song at our wedding.
I'll tell you when you grow up.
Yes. Yeah, but just to cut the long story short, eventually I had good advice from good, mature people. I spoke with my mom, and I felt settled because I had had opportunity to see the kind of person that he is. And we started dating in 1997, officially. And then we finished campus in 2000, and in 2001 we got married. So literally we graduated and got married. Yeah, so that's our story in short.
There you go. Now, I'm going to reserve questions for the end. Let's hear all their stories, and then you guys are going to ask your uncensored questions, okay? Now, let's go to the younger couple over there. 1.5 years, man. You guys are fresh, eh? Awesome.
We are babies.
Go for it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yvonne. I'm Naya's wife. We met. We both got to Worship Harvest. So we met in our discipleship group. We're in the same discipleship group. And then eventually we started working to get volunteer. I found that he was an admin at church, and I also volunteered with that department. And because we were spending a lot of time together, we became friends. And after some time, I noticed that he liked me. You can tell. Yeah, you can tell.
I'm sure you'll ask the question better, guys, eh?
So I noticed that he liked me, but at that time, I was the leader of the discipleship space. So for me, I felt like it was not right. So yes, I thought it was really not right. So I decided to have a conversation with him, and I told him, I think I've noticed that this friendship is not appropriate. So I'm going to end the friendship, or we need to be like, respect me like respect me like your leader. Yeah, so
torturing the brother.
Yeah, so then that's when he told me he liked me, and he made it rather plain. And so I asked him some questions. We had a very hard conversation for about 3 days. And after those 3 days, I was okay with it because he told me to ask the Lord, and I did. And yeah, we started dating in June of 2022 and got married in June 2023. Yeah.
Dating for 1 year, and you knew it was it. And this is 1.5 years.
So we started dating. I asked him, why should I date you? And so I'm very logical, and I think in terms of it needs to benefit me. So so I asked him why I should date him, and he said some things, but among the things that he wanted to marry me. So we started dating, and we knew we were going to get married. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Now, your perspective, do you think he's covered? Is there anything else that you feel you might want to add to your love story that she's missed?
She has basically covered everything. I'll just add a little bit. So we were volunteering together in finance and admin at church, and so we were spending a lot of time together. But more than that, in that discipleship space, she was as if my pastor. Yeah, in that space. So she comes to me one time and she says, the way we are hanging out, I don't think that it's very, very appropriate. And essentially what she was doing is threatening to not hang out with me anymore. So I just knew in that moment that I had to put all the cards on the table. And so I told her, you see, the problem with that is I like you.
Not love.
Yeah. So I put it there so that Yezure, as Baganda like to say. The other thing she didn't say is that she asked me very tough questions. And she also told me to go and report myself to our pastor. Accountability.
Okay.
So that you're not just trying to.
Okay.
Yeah, so I scheduled an appointment with the pastor, and the pastor kind of had a feeling it was coming. And so when I told him, I was like, okay. I was just wondering when this was going to happen. And so from that moment, it's like it gave us an opportunity also to have other people to work with, to keep us accountable from the get-go. And I think that was rather helpful to bring clarity to a lot of things along the way. So yeah, that's our story.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. Right, we'll move the microphone along. Anthony and Diana, maybe honey, if you just maybe move our chairs in.
Hello, everyone. My name is
Can you
Tony.
see from where you are? Yeah. Can I just ask maybe, sorry Tony, to move you. Just move your chair in a bit. And then Diana can move in. Can you see from where you are? Yeah? Okay.
I am Anthony, or Tony. Like I said, we've been married for 15 years. And our love story, I think I've known Diana since childhood, from Sunday school. Just seeing her at church, Kamanya here, And she was a normal girl. I didn't have any feeling for her. I would just see her as any other child, and we were family friends. She would come to our home to play with my little sister. We would also go to their home to play video game. So basically that was it. And so I was at campus in my first year, and I had always prayed to God asking for a wife, even at campus in first year. And of course, even in secondary, I used to pray to God for a wife. But things didn't happen. But now at campus, I think it was close to end of first year. This time round, I was on my bed in the evening, lying down and just chilling. And a thought just came and was like, how about starting a relationship with Diana? In my head, I was like, where is this coming from? So I knew that this should be God. And of course, when the thought came, I had a piece of paper, by the way, in my wallet, where I had written all the qualities. There were 10. And when I got out the piece of paper, she had like 80%. I was like, oh my God. It's like I was trapped. But this is someone who was not really like attractive to me then. So I was like, but really? As in, like, as if God is telling you that this is the one, and for you, like, I deserve better. So that same evening, I go check on my friend, a campus as well. She's Lydia. So I got to check on her, and as I was entering her room, she was like, by the way, why don't you start a relationship with Diana? I was like, Obijawa, where are you getting this from? She was like, I've just thought about it. From that moment, I knew I was trapped. And I started praying about it. And of course, I told her that, okay, if that's God's will, then let's pray about it and let us also pursue. So I started pursuing Diana. She was in her S6 VAC. So I tried to show myself and my intentions. I think I was not very skilled. And somehow she wouldn't, probably she didn't get the signal, or she got it. I wasn't very sure. She actually didn't get the signal.
Yeah, poor data.
Saying. Yeah, I'm not very skilled. I wasn't. Even now, I'm still improving. So I tried to show myself. She wasn't probably seeing. And then there were those times when I would tell her, I need to meet you, but it seems you're busy. And she used to sing at Watoto. So I would see her leading worship, what. And the times we would meet, it would just be hi, what. So I was like, I need to meet you. And somehow she was busy. And this time round, I think I called her. I think it was a campus break. I give her a call and I tell her, I've been wanting to meet you, but you're very busy. But this is what I have to say. I think I love you. She was like, okay, I think we need to meet. So finally she calls me on, like after 3 days, she calls me to her home there. I went checking. She had prepared some juice and a snack. I thought, with this juice, I think things are going to be clear. We talk, and after she tells me, in reference to what you told me about, I think it's best we remain as friends. We cannot have a relationship. Ooh. I was like, Kali. I was like, they refuse a bit. But I knew she would accept. But my dear, throughout campus, the 3 years, she gave me, there were 6 nines, 6 nines, as in 6 rejections. she was saying no. I would, periodically try out my luck, but my dear. And in between, she got into a relationship, and I was like, I'm finished. But after her graduation, I saw things changing a bit. Her heart started becoming soft towards me. And I remember one overnight, I had gone to Watoto downtown to pray. And those were some of the things that I had gone to pray about. And in that night, while I was praying, God just gave me his word. Trust in me and wait on me. I felt so much peace. My overnight ended there. At midnight, I went back to my room and slept. Yeah, so in 2007, November 4th, yes, November 4th, Diana said yes. That is our story. I think she will also add her purchase in there.
6 rejections. 9.
Okay, let me start from the rejection. 6 9s, as in when you're rejected in Luganda, they call it bakubyo mwenda. Yeah.
So 6 rejections.
So let me just come in on the rejections, because he's done most of the. Now, like he said, we were family, friends, and all. Now, when I got to campus, of course, when he asked me out first, I didn't want to really put down his esteem, so that's why I wanted to. I was like, okay, I gave him a juice and what, and to prepare him nicely. So, the truth is, at that time, really, he wasn't my type. Yeah. I'm speaking as a girl, and with all the expectations. First of all, Paul and Isaac are my brothers, and there's also Ken. Okay, you've heard how they propose. They sing what Gamba. They are too romantic, for lack of a better word. So these guys, they sing, they pull out chairs, they open the door and say, Then Tony could not sing. For me, my ideal guy was someone who could sing, was someone who was tall. Tony was short, he was small. By the way, we talk about these things jokingly right now, but I'm speaking
that's
as
where you were.
That's where I was.
Yes.
Yeah, he was short. He could not sing. He wasn't in my circle, in my circles. Yeah, and I mean, I've okay. I don't want to stereotype, but I had my kind of people. Okay, so he just wasn't really in the equation. Then the second time, among the things that kept me kind of like putting me off. So one day, I told you we are family friends. So one day I come back home to check on mom. It was a Sunday. I would usually come back on Sundays because I used to stay at campus. So on Sundays I would come to check on mom. So we are having lunch. And then mom tells me, by the way, the other day I met Mrs. Semugoma. Mrs. Semugoma is Tony's mom, okay? So I'm like, hey, okay, how is she? Hey, how is Rachel? Rachel is Tony's young sister, okay? And we used to play, we were childhood friends. He's like, yeah, she's fine. So there's a weird silence. Then she's like, Namanye, what do you think about Tony? And even Charles Samgoma was actually thinking that he would be a very good person for you. I dropped my fork and I'm like, what is going on here? Like, why are you telling, like please. I'm like, Mom, your money, and boys say you choose. As in just, he's like, hey, Vichy. So he's like, yeah, by the way, he had initially said something, but I'm not really interested. He's not in my circle of friends. So, so that's where it ended. Then another time, now the whole family are my friends, okay? He has his brother. Tony is just a year older than me. Then Alan is he's my age mate. So it was Alan's birthday. And Alan is a bit of a more fun person than Tony is. So he called me to go for his birthday, and they asked me to MC the event. So Mom got to know that there was a birthday party happening at the Tony's home. It was Alan's birthday. So that day she's like, make sure you first pass by here. I need to see what you're putting on. You know our Mom, yeah? Mom is so, image. So I passed by, say, okay, now I'm like, you know what? I am fine. I will be fine the way I am. So I go, but of course, all those things kept on coming, you know. These people are pushing too much. Then, I started that. No, just before I started, there's someone I dated in between. We dated for just 1 month. So let me try to rush. This was the breaker for me. In 2006, I got my first opportunity to travel to the UK. So when I came, and I was staying with Paul and Grace. So all of them had heard about Tony. Okay. So they, especially my sister Irene, not Paul, but Irene. It's like, by the way, I'm like, guys, Mundeke, and by that time I even had feelings for the guy I was going to date later on. Like, you know how you know that you're friends with somebody, and you know that anytime, yeah, with the other guy, the other guy was called JB. So anyway, when Irene kept on, you know, I was like, but I went to God. I am one person who I know my whole life, from the time I gave my life to Christ. I gave my life to Christ in S2. My whole life has revolved around God. Okay? So that night, as I was praying, before I went to sleep, I was actually in Sanyu and Subi's bedroom. Before I went to sleep that night, I knelt down and I said, oh dear God, you know what? You've always known my life. You know what is best for me. I want you to get somebody that is going to come from you, and not anybody else. And if there is someone who comes within my means, and he is not the person, please frustrate that relationship. As in, I made a very sincere prayers, like, if that is not the person, because I don't want to just enter marriage for, okay? If that is not the person, frustrate it. But God, just bring me anybody, Lord, as long as that person comes from you. And this is the funny thing. In my life, I've only had God speak to me clearly 2 times. And this was the 2nd time. And God told me, oh, anybody? I was like, yes, Lord, anybody. Anybody, Jesus, as long as it comes. He's like, oh, anybody. Nebo Abatoni. As in Nebo Abatoni means as in, even if it's Tony. I was like, I stood up. You know, like how you're like, what's happening here? Who is talking? Like, you know, because at that time, my feelings for JB were really loud, and I knew we were going into a relationship with JB. You get it, So, I stood up. I was like, Tony, dear Lord. But then I remembered, but I had said what? Anybody. So anyway, I first pressed in that room. I was actually alone. Then after I went back on my side, I said, okay, God, I said anybody. But I was like, but if it's going to be Tony, okay, if you're saying it's Tony, if it's going to be him, then you really have to bend my heart to love him, because I don't like those things of of God has sent this person to you, or these things of looking like it's a family, like it's that have been match made by, because my mom was in it. Tony's mom, whenever she would see me, Lord. So anyway, so that's what ended up happening, and that was 2006. Then that's where the prayer ended. In December 2006, 1st December, we started dating with JB. We broke up on the 31st of December.
New Year's resolution.
Well, it turned out he was playing me with somebody else. Okay, as in not playing me, but there's I got into a weird thing where the other girl sent me a message of leave my man alone, and I don't like that drama. As in, I'm like, me? We are two people for a man. I'm too good for that. So, so anyway, so that's where that relationship ended. It got me. I felt bad, but the beauty about it is that the good thing is that I hadn't given myself to him in any way, not even my lips. I hadn't kissed him. I hadn't like so that the breaking up was more of I'll miss him as a friend. You get it? But imagine if I had gone kind of like a bit. It would have been. But anyway, in 2000 and October, a year later, in October is when I started getting. I came back home, and Tony stays. Like I said, we stay on the same village. So somehow we kept seeing ourselves a lot because we don't usually take the same taxi. He works with Watoto. I was working with Watoto, and he was working in the building, the next building, Shore House. So we spent time a lot together. And then Munang, my heart started doing what? Bending. And I actually ended up falling in love with him. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, the question starts without further ado. But it's interesting, by the way. Tony and Diana, maybe some of. So, the dynamics. First of all, your families, the two families are close to each other. And Tony, you attempt 6 times. You know, and you get 6 no's. And how does that affect? Was there any affection between the two family relationships? How did you keep in each other's faces and space?
Of course, the first time I approached her and she said no, I kept it to myself. Then, after some time, my mom comes to me and tells me, by the way, why don't you start a relationship with Diana? I was like, maybe. And she was like, by the way, Serukenya is my friend. I'll talk to her. These things should be easy. I was like, now, there's a likelihood that Diana told her mom. So I had to report myself to my mom that, by the way, I already tried, and she said no. She was like, don't worry, now leave it to us. The elders, we are going to handle. So, but I told her, but most importantly, let's pray about it. And she was like, yeah, of course we'll pray about it. Then another time, because I think the rejections really stressed me, and I think I was already small and I continued to lose weight. And I think she was the one on my mind. So at one point, my brother Alan was like, Ninawe, uyu mwala akulumiza bwerere omutwe. You're getting headaches for nothing. Me, I'm going to get you a better chick. You know, my brother Alan he's sharp, eh? He's very sharp. Because for him, he was in many relationships. Yet for me, my whole life, I've like been very straight. Yes. So he was like, don't worry, me, I'll get you a better chick. That one is not, she's even fake. Me, I'll get you another chick. So I was like, Alan, leave me alone, eh? Don't do anything for me, because this is who I want. She's the one I want. And God has spoken to me. So, of course, the family would see her as one who is causing me heartache. But I gave them the assurance that God had spoken to me. And so I was like, be easy. The time will come when she will say yes. But the other flip side was that her family was on my side. Rita, Maureen, Lydia, all those people on my side. And every opportunity, they would tell me why. So I would go for parties because they would tip me off that, man, there is this. And I remember the second time I really saw that she had started bending towards me was on her graduation. They put me on the organizing committee, because I think in those days I was very active in organizing functions. So when I was on the committee, I would, remind them of the different things, toilet paper, we have to make sure the toilets are clean, all those things, the arrangement of the tents. So I was very resourceful. So on the day of the graduation, when she came and found everything was neat and I was in charge, I saw her starting to hold my hand. I was like, what is wrong with this girl? She's going to confuse me. But from that day, she got really bent towards me. And even when we were going to church, I would give her a call or send a message, tell her, I'm going to church, Lubowa. Would you like a lift? Because my parents had an extra car, so I would borrow one of them. And I would go to church. So every time I would tell her, can we go to church together? She was like, hey, it's okay. So I would come, pick her up, and then bring her back. And remember, it was a pickup. So, yeah, only 2 people.
Just to add in, I think your question was on our parents. First of all, they prayed in the same church.
Yes.
Okay, so we could not even interfere with their relationship with each, because they met every Sunday.
Okay.
They were in the same social, they were in the same social circles. So yeah, and then those 6 times. It was 6 times because of that too much pressure that was coming. I was like, man, this is just too much. So that's why the rejections kept on coming in. But the main breaker was, I am one person, I love things to be done for me. I'm an acts of service person. If you know love languages, I like people who do things for me. I like people who make my life very easy. So when he came and was like a superhero, at the grad, I was like, oh wow, oh he's coming to pick me up. Oh, I just love people who make my life easy. So yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to dominate the questions now. Let's go.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Uncle Johnny's story and Auntie Diana's story is really inspiring. But before I ask the question, I think the night that I stand up. Oh, okay. Yeah. I think the night that Auntie Diana ended her previous relationship, that is when that was the 31st of December. I think it was the same day that Uncle Tony was at church, if I'm not mistaken, to pray on the overnight. Oh, there were different years. Okay, but I mean, that goes to show what the past generation has been through with Uncle Tony's story. For him, he was such a strong guy, because in this current generation, to be denied 6, I mean, how do you even reach the 6th time? I mean, these days, someone rejects you once and it's just the end. Like girls have emotions, guys have emotions. They don't take it well, even in just friendship. So to reach that extent just was really, really brave. And for Auntie Diana, I think she's an example to the young people out here and the single people out here that, you have to pray to God, because we have all these stereotypes about having, we want to have a particular type. I want to, so and so wants to marry a sports athlete, wants to marry a musician, So there are all those examples. But, with Auntie Diana's story, you can know that you have to pray to God about the particular spouse that you can get. And sometimes it starts through friendship, and God knows the answers. But this question goes to the ladies mostly. How do you in this generation, so many guys are so spoiled. Okay, also the ladies. But what advice would you give to these young people in a generation whereby there's so much what do you say? They are spoiled for choice, especially in this social media generation, whereby if, for example, as a lady, Tony rejects you, a young Diana will move on to someone else, and it's the same for a young Tony nowadays. There's so much social media. There's so many apps whereby people can link up on social media and meet in person, and if Diana rejects you, you're just on to the next. So as the ladies, maybe what advice would you give to the young people?
By the way, that's awesome. Just hearing your first introduction, the conversation you said before you had your question, I couldn't have said it better. So again, if anyone feels that they have any additional bits, maybe towards the end, just jump in. But questions first.
Okay, so thank you for your stories. They're very inspiring. My question kind of falls in line with his, but mine is an issue of knowing the difference between love and infatuation. Because I thought high school was crazy, but campus was way worse. Because everyone is like, yo, I'm dating that babe. But bro, last week you said you're dating the other one. Yeah, no, I thought I loved her, I didn't. You're like, so you love this new one? Yes. I'm like, okay, cool, yeah. So I want to know the difference to the infatuation and the love, and what it is that made you guys say, I will pursue this babe, or I'll let this man also. Yeah, because to commit, it's serious. Because these days, commitment it's a joke, right? It's like, why are we committing? We have options. Let's have fun and chill. So, yeah, what is it that said, I will pursue this woman and commit for sure? Yeah.
My question is for the ladies. When you were approached the first time, did you know you were ready to date? And how did you know that now was the time and I could accept this guy and get into the relationship? Yeah.
So I'm going to only take one last question, and then I'll summarize the questions to the panel.
Thank you, everyone, for
just
sharing.
The question.
Aunt Grace, you talked about commitment. Can you please share what the small things that you did as signs to your commitment to Uncle Paul? Like that, because you just talked about commitment generally, but you didn't note down those things that you can do to show that you're committed to this person. Then this one can go to anyone about love languages. So I'm a physical touch person. As a Christian, I believe there are some extent that you don't want to go to, but you feel loved when maybe they touch a certain way and all that. So what are the proper gestures when it comes to physical touch in a relationship that is not yet, like they've not proposed to you, yes, you're just there trying to figure out things. Yes.
My question is in relation to the waiting. They're going through the six nines. I see wisdom in that, but then I also see wisdom in moving on when you have gotten your rejection. Because is it that every time you persist, you will eventually get a yes? Because there are times where you may persist for 2 years and it's still a no at the end, and you have spent 2 years Just trying to what? 3 years, eh? Okay, even beyond 3 years. You've spent 4 years. Yeah? So there's also wisdom in saving time and saying, you know what? A no is a no. Let me go to the next one. You get it? So my question is, how do you know that the right thing to do right now is to persist, and maybe the right thing to do right now? Because there are times when the lady will say no, and it's a no, and it's probably never going to be a yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it may be foolhardy to just continue pushing it when it's eventually still going to be. And also my question is, when does persistence stop? Yeah, when is it right to persist, and when is it right to just say, you know what, let me take my services elsewhere? Thank you.
Services elsewhere.
Okay, good evening. So my question is to the marrieds with kids, parenting and marriage. How do you balance being a good wife, a good mother, and a working mother? Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Oh.
Yes, last question.
Okay.
So mine is, yes, my question wants to fall maybe to the ladies, and maybe Auntie Dana in particular. She said she was looking at her husband by the time when they were dating, was not maybe her type, not romantic, maybe he's not that tall. So I want to ask a question, and it maybe can help to reflect on everybody here. Does height make a marriage? Does color make a marriage? Does type, maybe that man does not fall in my category, does that make a marriage? So help us elaborate that. Does height, maybe color, or size, does it make a marriage? Or even does a type of a partner also make a marriage?
Okay. I'll start from the last question because that's the one everyone remembers. Yeah? Does height, color, shape, form, whatever make a marriage? No. I would say that everyone is unique. No box fits everyone. Yeah? You can find a tall guy madly in love with a slightly shorter girl. And and their relationship is better than any other relationship in the world. Moving on swiftly. All I can say in my experience is, the falling in love bit, although you guys seem to make it complicated, once you flip, man, that's the easiest bit of it. What makes a marriage is what you do after you say, I do. Even the best of the best, with the best history of, came from a good family, no divorces, no everything, all the boxes ticked. But once you say, I do, and the doors close, life begins. And it's these tools. What do you do when the doors close? What do you do? It's what happens after the marriage that makes a marriage. Not physique, not color, not bank balance. None of that does make a marriage. You can be in a huge mansion, but yet be in a prison in your own home. So what you do after that is what makes the marriage right. So I'm going to do a quick recap on the questions, and anyone can feel free from the panel to answer. So here is what I heard you say. Let me know if I misheard it. How do you choose what is love and what is infatuation, sexual feelings towards someone? How do you know? How do you feel? What differentiates that, in your opinion? I'll pass the mic around. Just feel free.
I would say infatuation is short-lived. That's the best way I can put it. If whatever it is you're pursuing, it's going to last you one day, 2 days, 5 minutes, and you're done. That one, run. And I'm saying run as far away from it as you can. Because love is for a lifetime, especially in the context that we are talking about. It is for the rest of your life. So the reason why I think somebody was mentioning the reason why people need to ask the hard questions is what you are trying to find out is you're saying you want to build, you're promising me a big mansion, the whole of Serena at the moon, whereby the Google Maps image will take you, point you straight to the moon. You say, okay, thank you. Okay, so how are you going to do it? What are you doing now? What are your plans? What? Most likely, someone that is running on the fuel of infatuation will not have that kind of an answer. He will probably go as far as just sit here and look nice and wait, I will bring it to your table. If they cannot walk you through the process and you do not see yourself featuring anywhere in that process, then most likely they are running on the fuel of infatuation. And they will get you into bed after 5 minutes, and the next thing is, I think it's not the one, let's move on to the next one. So that is the shortest way that I can tell you. Infatuation is short-lived and it's selfish. Love is for a lifetime. So if someone cannot walk you through the process and you do not see yourself featuring anywhere in that process, then probably the person is yes, he has love, but the love is for someone else that is not you. Yeah.
Just to add on to that, you remember we talked about commitment, and when there's infatuation, there is no commitment. With love, there is commitment.
Okay, I think for many people inside here, you've been in relationships or you've had the opportunity to be treated really lousily. Like, by lousy, we were in a car and someone yesterday we come back from somewhere and the person was saying how they'd gone out and this guy and this girl were as if slightly more than friends, but when it came time to go home, the guy asked her, so how are you going home? And he puts her on a bike and yet he has a car. And I don't know, but me personally, my dad treated me really nicely. Like, my dad dropped me everywhere. He did so much. And then my relationship with Christ has, like, I know how valuable I am. So I keep seeing people negotiate, especially girls, negotiate for themselves badly. Me, I called it negotiation. In fact, when I was speaking with my husband, it was a thing of, I'm going to get what I want. And if I'm not getting it, go. It's not what, I must get what I want. Like, this is, because men will want to sleep with you and then they'll leave you, right? They got what they wanted. So now when it comes to things like love and lust, like, there's when you have been treated really badly, like below your standard, and you've accepted that. And then there's when, like, basically Jesus has died for you and you know this person is willing to die for you. You will know that trade-off. You will know that this person is joking, is playing around with me, versus, and this is for the ladies. For the guys, all men have some, like, when a guy wants what he wants, and he will do whatever he can to get what he wants. I mean, look at Uncle Isaac, look at Uncle Tony, like, they will go through leaps and bounds. That's why men go to war. Like, they push so hard for things. But if he's not even lifting his finger, it should be a telltale sign that maybe it's not yet, I'm not the one. And it's okay. He will find the one, and there'll be also someone who will want to break their legs, jump over what, to do that for me as the girl. So for me, it was very important that I needed to know, is Naya willing to talk to the pastor, go to my dad, who is very tough, and tell him, I want to marry your daughter. Like, is he willing? If he's not, then it's okay. I know what is in your heart, and that's fine. So for me, the difference between knowing if it's lust and love, it's like, what are you willing to do? Like, to what lengths are you going to go for whatever it is? It should tell you that. And it's okay to be honest. If it's just lust, agree with yourself and you're like, no, I just like this guy. He looks nice. But sober up. This is not what I want to build my foundation on. And for the guys as well, just because why would you want your foundation of a lifetime thing to be on lust?
Awesome. So now there's 6 last questions. I'm going to read all of them and then we'll go for it. So we'll feel free. This is how I heard them. It was, how do you deal with if there are plenty of options? Did I hear that right? Yeah? Plenty of options. Did I ask that correctly? How do you go mini, mini, money, mo? Who's the one I will take? Yeah? And then, Grace, what did you do to show commitment to Paul? Then there was physical touch boundary limits. Okay, you probably talked about it more from a Christian perspective, but I'm conscious that in this place not everyone is Christian, but everyone has values of themselves. So it doesn't take to be a Christian to know that you're someone of value. Yeah. So I'll broaden the question that how far should I let someone touch me if I know my boundaries as a person of value? Yeah. So what are the boundary limits in dating? Where does persistence stop? Yeah. When we need to help each other, right? you did it 6 times, but for some people, maybe it might become like, you're into my space now. I need to have some freedom as well to exist within my space, and it's very interesting. That's why I asked the other time how you guys survived when our families are quite next door to each other. Anyway, and how do you balance parenting and being a wife or a husband? Maybe we'll go for the more particular one, Grace. What did you do to show commitment to me? And I'll fact check you.
What did I do to show commitment? To start with, you remember at the beginning, Paul was very nervous when he was telling me that he liked me. He thinks he likes me. My commitment to him was telling him that I like you too. I had the confidence, I had the courage. I knew that Paul was the one for me. So I had the confidence and the courage to tell him that. But also in terms of things like when it came to, he offered for us to join our accounts. I was willing to do that. I was willing to get to know his family, get to meet his family. We were friends. Rita and I were friends before that. But even when the family came to England, met Ken, met everybody, sometimes there's no one who's going to like someone. You're not going to like someone or something. Or if you have a favorite dress, you're not going to keep it in the cupboard. Do you see what I mean? So if someone likes you and they're not introducing you to their family and their friends, who was talking about whether we know it's love or infatuation, if someone likes you, they're going to show you off. They are going to show you off. Do you know what I mean? And those are the signs of commitment. So getting into each other's lives, getting into each other's families, getting into being willing to say yes and not confusing people. Do you know what I mean? So I knew that I liked him. I made the decision. I went for it. That's it. I don't know if that helps. Yeah.
Awesome. Feel free to answer a question depending on what you had the question was.
I'll approach this one, which talked about reason for persistence.
Right.
That's the one.
Yeah. When does persistence stop?
I summarized it as reason for persistence.
Right.
Excuse me. Now, I think it's important for us to know where the whole thing started from. It started with God. And of course, I know some of us here may not be Christians, and maybe for you, you're unlucky. But for me, because I have a relationship with Jesus, he speaks to me, and clearly. And for me, that is the thing that I clung on. Why is that English? I don't know. I had to cling to the fact that God had spoken to me, and that there was that confirmation from someone else. In any relationship, there should be things that keep giving you the reason to hang in there. One was God. Then the family. The family was on my side. And of course, it was just a matter of time. And then God also continued to comfort me and tell me that, wait on me. That's when I really had to understand some 2 scriptures, Ecclesiastes 3:11, which says that he makes everything beautiful in its time. Because we dated for 2 years, and I would say we dated for 1 year, because 1 year she was out of the country. Because she was working with Watoto, so she would be around 6 months, and then 6 months away. 6 months in Uganda, 6 months away. So we basically dated for 1 year. And for me, in my head, I was like, but if we had dated for long, would we have been able to keep the purity? Because truth is, we got married when we were both virgins. And for me, that speaks a lot. Okay? So I encourage us that the genesis of your whatever relationship or pursuit of your mate or your spouse should have a good foundation, not the infatuation that has been talked about. And then there was something that, maybe just let me say this, about the things that okay, for me my answer was, I can't really remember the
boundaries.
question.
Boundaries, what to do?
Not
Okay.
boundaries, but it was something to do with, I was encouraging us that before you get into any relationship, before your head is messed up, and this is mainly for the girls, because when they fall in love, they are unstoppable. Even if it's a boda guy, even if it's a drunkard, these girls, when they fall in love, they are unstoppable. I encourage us, let's have our qualities written down when we are still sober. It helped me a lot because I was able to sieve out all the girls that were coming my way during that time of waiting and rejection. And for me, I think that helps a lot. Otherwise, if you just be there and start falling for people without having your qualities, then whatever appeals to you will just,
I'll do the wife work family. Work like family balance. Sorry, I remember when it comes to quality, some of you may think it's the physical. No, what you are asking about, it's character. You will have a guy who looks so good, my goodness, and then when you go, the guy will not even lift a finger to help you when you're in hospital, because marriage is not about the heebie-jeebies and what somebody looks like. Life happens. Someone can get sick. Someone can that person clean up after you when you are when you're not doing well and things like that. So for me, one of the qualities that I had was I wanted somebody hardworking, not rich, but hardworking. Somebody okay. Let me not divert.
Actually, you're not diverting,
yes,
because I was just called aside here to see that we're emphasizing also the point of when you are spoiled for choice, especially via social media apps.
Yes.
And you're kind of answering because you go, it's got to be told, it's got to be filtering. But now you've kind of touched that there.
Okay.
Yeah.
The character. Okay. How does this person treat a cleaner?
And you don't get that on the app.
How do they treat the waiter when you go out to a restaurant? Yeah? You get what I'm saying? Eh? How do they treat your parents or how do they? Well, I could go on and on, but those things. And for me, another thing, when I was writing some things, I told my husband I needed to be. What was it you said? You don't want. I needed to be secure. I needed somebody, and we were saying, you want me to be an askari? I'm like, no. But anyway, wife work, family balance. I'm going to start with my relationship with my husband. Every month, we date. We go out on a date. Even if we don't have money, even if it's just a soda, we go away from home, okay? Away from home, and if there's no money, we'll just go to a restaurant, and we do what? And we order for a soda, and then we talk, okay? But away from home. That's with my husband. And then on a quarterly, if we saved our money, but now we've learned to plan it, we go for a weekend away. As in away. And we have our time. And it's usually in those times when we are away where we plan better. Okay, and we come back, it's when we make the biggest projects, when we go away for that weekend away. So once a month, go out for a date once in a quarter. Of course, those are my things, but once in a quarter, we go for a weekend away. For the children, I've learned and I'm still learning not to take my children in a group. I have 4 children, okay? And now we have those going into, I have teens, preteen, and then almost like a toddler, okay? So, fine, we have those group activity, the group thing at the end of the year, but I've learned to date them one by one because they are different. Okay, so and then there's another journey I'm going to start where I have a child of the week. That this is now my focus is going to be on what? On this person. You get it. Eh? Of course, you have to moderate, but it's what kind of like helps. And then of course, work. There's a time for everything, right? So work, it's really set out your goals, what you're going to do, what you need to do, you do it. But for these other things, I have to make sure that they're still tallying. I hope I've made sense. Eh? Yeah.
Yes. Lastly.
Another thing that she does, because she's quite busy at work, so whenever it clocks, I think, is it 6:30 or 7?
7 p.m.
7 p.m., she does not pick calls from parents.
Okay.
It's family time until morning.
I return them at 7 a.m.
Okay, so you're the last people with the microphone, and there's last 2 questions. And you might want to top up on what I say, but these are the last 2 questions. I don't know if we've answered. How did you know it was the right time when someone approached you? And physical touch boundaries when you're dating. Did we cover that?
No, it's not.
Okay, so.
But you're a physical touch person.
So feel free to throw light on that and make the assumption that now we're not talking to married people, right? Married people, just you have your session. Now, these 2 questions really go to the ones who are not yet married and have respect for their bodies, right? How do you know it's the right time and physical touch boundaries?
How do you know it is the right time to date? I would say that the thing that the topic that Uncle Tony here started us on was one of hearing from God. It is very important because it answers many questions that were asked. Even the whole thing of spoiled for choice, just because there are so many young men out there who are ready to get married, doesn't mean that they are all good for you. So it may seem that there are so many options out there, but it may not, in essence, be the case. I think in Genesis, God says, it's not good for man to be alone. Let's make him a helper suitable for him. And the word suitable means that not everybody may be suitable for you. So it comes down to what did God say? And I say that to say that God is able to speak, but also that God is able to confirm his word. Because some people will go like, I don't know if he spoke. Is this God? Should there be lightning and thunder and a voice from heaven saying, this is my beloved daughter, marry her? It may not be like that. And so sometimes, even while you're proceeding with a word that you think you have, there may be moments of doubt where you're like, did God speak? And I think that God is more than able to confirm his word. I think in the Bible, Abraham, I'm sorry for those that are not Christians, but let me just, Abraham sends his servant to get a wife for Isaac because Isaac was 40 and he was not about that jazz. And so the servant goes on a very serious assignment and he asks God, tells him, you know, if this is the right person, let the girl, if she's able to give me to offer me water and offer all of my animals water, you know, and God confirms it. I think there's another story of Gideon, because God comes to Gideon, a very miniature person, and tells him, I have this big vision for you, what. At some point, Gideon puts God to the test and says, if this happens, I will know. Another one, if this happens, I will know. In the New Testament, there is yet another story when Jesus appears to the disciples after resurrecting. I think it was Thomas. He refuses. He says, no, I was not here. How should I? Because after that, a very serious assignment was coming. He was going to send them out. Yeah? What we know as the Great Commission. And so Jesus was gracious enough to come and fulfill Thomas's requirements, because he said, I need to see, I need to touch. And so Jesus comes and says, come and see, come and touch. And Thomas's response after seeing and touching, he just says, my Lord and my God. So I said all of that to say that if God has spoken, and marriage is a very, very serious thing, there are times when you will be like, sorry, I'm not sure. Did God speak? Did he speak? When you are sure, then it will help you to navigate so many things, like choice, what, even before you get married, but also after you get married, as you encounter so many storms, you will need that assurance, because sometimes it will need to come from God, not from your spouse. I will let her answer the other question.
Awesome. Do you? Okay.
Yeah, before we go to the next question, I just wanted to add to what you are saying, that for God to speak, you must be listening. If your ears are closed, your eyes are closed, your heart is closed, you actually cannot hear. And I think that is one of the biggest challenges in this generation. You remember when Uncle Paul and Auntie Grace were talking about actively listening. We are so distracted by so many things. Our ears are plugged in. We have no time to listen. When someone tells you, seek God or ask God, you don't have the time to actually sit down and say, what does the Bible say about a situation like this? Or God, give me guidance through your word. We don't have the time. So first of all, it is important to be listening. Because if you're not listening, God may shout, he may put signs in the sky, thunder, what? But your eyes are like this in the phone and the ears are plugged in. I'm not saying literally, but I'm saying, your heart must be open. Yeah, and sometimes the gift is right in front of you, but you have closed your eyes. Remember Auntie Diana's story. Not my type, not my circles, doesn't fit the bill, You're not listening, you don't want to know. Yeah, so it's very, very important to be present and listening for you to be able to identify.
Okay. When we get into, just to punctuate that little bit, I'm going to go into a little bit of more practical thing here. I would strongly suggest, after all that emotional, spiritual preparation side of it, I would strongly suggest, and I think you might agree with me, that how do you know you are ready? I would say, first of all, assess your account, man. See, can you pay the rent? Yeah? Can you pay the rent? Because why make a commitment when you cannot keep the roof on top of your head? So let's get a little bit next stage practicality. Yeah, have the resource to pay for the roof on top of your head. If you haven't built the house, at least have the money to pay the rent. Next, can you pay for the food? It can be stressful, I'm telling you. Making a commitment to someone you love, and yet you cannot sustain the two of you, you will be very, very stressed. However committed you are, you're probably better off first staying as friends, and you first build up your kamane, or if not kamane, first get yourself a secure job of sorts. There's nothing secure, by the way, but at least get yourself some momentum before you make the commitment to then close the doors and find that you cannot afford. True. Yeah? So that was my 50 cents on how do you know if you are ready. Yeah? All right. Okay. So the last bit was about boundaries. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
So about boundaries, I think I also later learned that I was a physical touch person. However, I think someone told me this when I was very young, that there's some stuff you should never taste. This was in regards to either alcohol and drugs. They're like, it's so dangerous. If you're curious, just look at it from afar, but don't start the journey. So yes, you are a physical touch person, and even for those who are not physical touch people, definitely we are grown-ups, we are adults, we have crossed adolescence, and right now your body knows that it's time.
Hormones.
Yes, it's time. Procreation, and whatever, all that God created for us. However, would you risk starting, opening the floodgates with someone who's not committed to you? Particularly for women, because it will just crush you. We've seen it. It has happened. It is happening. It will happen. The girls will get crushed. And then you start a cycle of, you start again. I want to feel loved. This is how I feel loved. They touch you. One thing leads to another. It just happened. Crushed. The cycle. So it's so costly. It's such a costly thing that you cannot play around with it. So my advice would be like, yes, you know it. That's your information. Guard it. Until the time is right, when you are married, you will be loved. Until then, the Lord loves us, even though he doesn't touch us.
Awesome. So, is there a final comment on this one, and then we're going to go into the session?
Yeah, my final comment on this one. Physical touch. Thank you so much. Just to add on to what she has said, I'm a primary school teacher, so there's something that I usually teach children about personal space. Okay, but I will not go into that because I know Nachi, you know it. But let me tell you what helped Tony and I noticed, and some people I think were shocked when Tony said that by the time we got married, we were both virgins. It's still possible, by the way. It really still is possible. Some people they're like, what? How? Yeah? When? Yeah? Anyway. So this is what happens. When you're in a relationship, I am a physical touch person. I'm going to make it as practical as possible, okay? Yeah, it's okay for you to hold hands. It's okay for you to, but try as much as possible to be in a public place. Okay? To be for as long as you're dating and say you're Christian or you have values. Some of us, you may not be Christian, but you have your values that you live by, okay? Try as much as possible to be in an open place. And even though you want your privacy, okay, you could still go to a beach, all right, and you're just seated, the two of you. But in our African setting, it will be very difficult for you to make out. Do you get what I'm saying? For you to make out in a public what? Yeah, a public space.
It protects you.
It guards you. Now with Tony and I, the time we started to, I'll be vulnerable. The time we started to kiss, okay, it was actually planned. It wasn't the whole movie, heebie-jeebies, Madagascar, the heart's coming out, what, bitchy. No. And by the time we planned it, we were actually engaged. But in our dating time, we didn't kiss because we knew ourselves. And that's why even with some people do take a beer here and there, okay? But I know myself, I'm a very hyperactive person. So once I put in, I can really go, So by the time when we actually started to kiss, okay, we when things were going another level, I would be like, Haneomanyi, go home. He would push me home. You get what I'm saying? And then, of course, that pushing, then he escorts you. And after say, okay, now let me also escort you back. Okay, then now let me escort you back. Oh, now we're not you get what I'm saying, eh? But we had our set boundaries because we knew each. And whenever I felt like, kind of like going the whole way, somehow one of us had to be sober. It was like, Nedda, let me take you home. So I just thought I would bring it down totally to your level, like of hold hands, but try as much as possible to be in an open place. It will guide you.
Paulo, just this one, On top of that, okay, for me, in my perception, I think it's also even not right to kiss before you're even married. Because, yes, hey, honey, if you remember very well, the first, no, honestly, like the first time we kissed, because we are now being vulnerable, the first time we kissed, I threw up. And the fact is, when you kiss, it's like you're preparing your body into something else. And if you don't take your system to that level that it wants to go, it has to find a way of calming itself down. I remember that day when I threw up, I even had to call a doctor. I'm like, what's up? What's happening? So I told the doctor what happened. I was like, what did you expect? So for me, I would say, don't even kiss until when you're married. Because you'll kiss and get tired. We kiss these days and you feel like, So why can't you wait those few years?
Okay, so everyone has their own individual boundaries, yeah? That is their story. I think ultimately, in my perspective, it's the sexual part of it. Sexual intimacy, if it's something that's that's ultimately the bit you, in my opinion, ultimately have to protect. Now, let me just say something. Some of us might have already crossed that barrier, which is okay. Yeah? We're not talking to, not everyone in here is a virgin. Let's not be, let's be straight about this. Yeah? And I'm not going to ask you to put up your hand if you're not. But what we're trying to do here is it's going to give you an ability to reset your life. And say, based on what I know now I understand that I'm a human being, I'm a girl of value. So knowing what I know now, this is how I can do this differently. That is a very good place to start. Not just in relationships, but also in the conversations that we had before relating to business, relating to finances. We've made many financial mistakes. Some said, I made mistakes in the past, but knowing what you know now, what would you do differently with the information that you've got today? And that's where the difference is going to come. That's the differentiator. Okay, shall we give a big clap to the panel? And we're going to go in our last session, which will be Diana. It's supposed to have been 45 minutes. Let me see if you can squeeze it. I know Diana is an administrator, and she's very good at limiting me. So this time I take the pleasure of limiting you to basically do your thing as you see fit.
Okay, I think we've sat for quite some time. First stand up, just before we, first stand up. I'm Diana Serukenya Luboyeda. I'm a primary school teacher. So, there's a song that I'm going to teach you. I usually teach values to the children. Every month we have a value. And there's one called time management, okay? And there's a song I usually teach them. It goes like this. Tick, 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 stop wasting time. Do the right thing at the right time, among the right people, in the right place. Are you ready to learn with me? Okay, we are going to go step by step. Tick, tick, tick. But I want actions, please. Tick, tick, tick. Stop wasting time. Actually, because I'm going to make it a little bit, Okay. Tick, tick, tick. Stop wasting time. Do the right thing. Right thing is like this. Do the right thing. At the right time. Among the right people. In the right place. Okay. Tick, tick. Well, let's take it from tick, tick. Stop wasting time. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. Tick, tick, tick. Stop wasting time. Do the right thing. At the right time. Among the right people. In the right place. Oh, tick, tick, tick. Stop wasting time. Do the right thing. At the right time. Among the right people. Now, on your own, tick.
Tick, tick. Stop wasting time.
Ocho.
Do the right thing. At the right time. Among the right people. In the right place.
Very good. Give yourselves a bottle of soda. Okay, you can sit down. So the topic is the what, why, and when. I think there was also and how. But basically, I'm going to be talking about etiquette. It's very wide, but I'm going to just zero it down on just specifically on personal image and personal branding, all right? So, as you can see that picture over there, etiquette covers quite a number of things: your personal image, your conduct, the protocol, expectations, the culture of a place. And then I took it down to the what, why, and when. And we've done our song of, let's do that thing. Do the 1, 2, go, do the right, Otio. Very good. Next slide. Very good, students. Okay. So what is etiquette? Etiquette is basically the customs or rules of polite behavior in society or members of a particular group. Okay? The rules, they're kind of like silent rules, but they kind of like really help a lot. It involves the use of good manners and consideration of other people. Mukawulidako, you've had that. Consideration of other people. All right? Sometimes we tend to be like, we tend to be people of, but this is who I am, without considering what? Other people. But it's very important for you to always put, I'm not saying that you should always put other people ahead of you, but you need to be considerate of the people who are around you in a specific society or environment. Okay? I'm sorry, I'm going speed because I know you've sat for quite some time. Next slide, okay? Personal image. Personal image. Have you ever heard of the word branding? Brand. What exactly is a brand? When they talk about branding, what exactly does it mean? Someone, just one person, very briefly. Branding. Yeah, a representation, okay? When you see, okay, let me just bring it down to Uganda. When you see color yellow, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? MTN, NRM, you get what I'm saying, eh? So, but I'm going to bring it down to here, personal image. You never get a second chance to make a great first impression. You've had that? The first time you kind of like go into a place, somebody, that first impression is what stays with most of the people that you have done what? When you've entered that room, okay? So, First impressions are often based on what we see, hear, and say. Okay? So you walk into a place. 55% of first impressions are made by what we see. When somebody goes into a room, if you're going to go for an interview, if you're going to go in a particular setting, I'll talk about different settings later on in the slides, okay? The first thing that people will judge about you is what they see. Okay? Before you even speak, 55% will be based on what you see, on what they see. 38% is the way we hear your first words. They'll ask you to say something, and then 38% will be the first way we hear your first words, and then 7% are the actual words you say. Okay? And then it will be enough for somebody to make their judgment of you. All right? 55% what we see, 38% your first words, 7% the actual words you say. Let's go to the next one. Appearance. First go back to the one before. Remember we said are made by what we see. Now let's go to the next slide. Appearance. There's somebody that I put over here, and I think most of you know her, don't you? Who is she? Meghan Markle. Okay? She's married to Prince Harry. Okay? Meghan was, I think she was in entertainment. Before she met the prince, okay? She was in entertainment, an actress and things like that. And there's a way in which she used to dress. Okay? You can even go and Google. I was trying to get a picture of her before Prince Harry. But they even bad. I was trying to get it in, to copy it and put it here. But it was even, it has rights. The internet has rights. I cannot take it from there, and I do it, and I put it here. Okay? The particular dress I wanted to put, her cleavage was kind of like showing. Okay? Ladies. But of course, I'll also go to the men along the way. But for us ladies, because our features are so definite, it's so her cleavage was showing. And there's a particular way in which she had posed for a picture. You know our things of when we're on social media and we do that and those poses. So her poses were kind of like that. But when when her status changed, you hear that? There are things that had to do what? To change. So yeah, probably she left. They are no longer really matching to the royal family thing and things like that. But just even if they went out of the UK and they're now in the US, still her branding did what? It changed. Okay? The way she dresses changed. So personal brand starts with how you dress. Dress the way you want to be addressed. If you want to be addressed well, then it will have to start with how you have what? With how you have dressed up. Okay? So of course there are different places we go to. There is the corporate workplace. Okay? If you're going into an interview, first do research. Okay? Ask some of the older people. Yeah? It's like, okay, so I'm going for this interview. How can I dress up for this? All right? Some of you may have tattoos. Okay? But in some workplaces, you will have to, it should not be revealed that you have it. You get what I'm saying? Okay? There's a friend of mine, he was seated on an interview panel, and the lady a lady came in for the interview, and her nails, you know these things ladies where we do one nail is red, one is green, one is, So, and this was a guy who was speaking, remember Edwin, Yeah, he sits on a particular panel. So, when the girl left, everybody was like, oh, okay, so what's your opinion about this lady? Said, man, we're looking at what the nails. Did you see her? Like her nails were so, the attention went on the nails that they couldn't even get the content of what she was saying. You get what I'm saying? So, the workplace, for the gentlemen, sometimes there are these new kind of I don't know what I should say. There are those fitting trousers. What are they called? The skinny jean. Okay, it's okay. You put on a skinny jean and and then you walk into an interview room. And image, you get what I'm saying? There are specific rules that kind of like govern. Remember we are talking about etiquette, okay? That kind of like govern a particular place. I'm just walking through, all right? Funerals. Different settings have a different. Let me bring it down here to Uganda, and what is becoming what has started. It wasn't there, but it's now starting to seemingly become popular. Okay, it's starting to become normal, but it's a bit where you're in a funeral service and you walk in a damaged jean. You get what I'm saying? It's a funeral service, and you have, I think you know what I mean by damaged jeans. I won't really go far there. And then the guys coming in shorts for a funeral. Somebody has lost somebody, and you're coming in like you're going to a beach. You get what I'm saying? Chill this thing of they've told you that you've lost someone and it has just happened, and but somehow you're polite enough to go and change for that particular setting. All right? So I would like to encourage you. That one I've started on the don'ts. All right? Try to put for the gentlemen. Try to put on a trouser. For the ladies, try to find try to put on a dress that's not revealing, okay? A kind of like a long dress, something that's not revealing. If you have, of course, sometimes funerals can get into the night. You can put in tights inside but with like a long dress. You get it, because a tight is basically to keep you warm in the night, and then you have this thing kind of like going on. It shows respect once again, all right? But like I've said, different settings. You research about that place. Church. Let me ask a question. And I know this one is, of course, now there's a lot of liberalism and freedom, and we thank God for freedom. In the presence of God, there is liberty, there is freedom. If you are going to meet the president of Uganda, and they told you have an appointment with the president, or you have an appointment with a queen of England. She's just passed on. Now it's the king. Now it's the king who is on. How would you dress up? Formal. Okay. You would put on your best. Yeah? You get what I'm saying? You try to kind of like get your best outfit. Yeah? Now, why is it that when you're going to meet the King of Kings, the president of all the presidents, why do we really have to totally dress down when we are going to church on Sunday? Hallelujah. I know that's a bit of a tight one, okay? Because, I mean, even our music these days, I love Maverick, yeah? And, like, you know, everything has really been like, because, I mean, there's freedom in the house of God and things like that. But actually, when you go out into different places, I think it would be good for us to also, at least on a Sunday, okay, to the fact that we're going to have, of course, we always have appointments with God. We have a relationship with Him every day for those who are Christian, and those who are not. And it's interesting, there are some people who don't usually go to church on Sundays, but when they decide to go, who are not really religious, but when they decide to go, you can see that they've put in a bit of effort in their dressing when they are going to what? To church. So the next time you're going to church again, I'm not saying dress formal, but try to get out something that, you know, try to kind of like bring out we used to call it Sunday best. I usually, I sometimes I tell my boys, personally, I don't let my boys go to church on Sunday in shorts and putting on Crocs or sandals. Like, no. Okay? So, that's just, once again, I'm talking about etiquette, appearance. Remember, we started with the way you dress, because that's what people see. Now let's go to what they hear, the 38%. Okay? The way we hear your first words. Okay? The way we hear your first words. What is your tone like when you get up to speak? If your tone, everybody will judge you based on your tone. Okay? If you're too low, that means you're not confident with yourself. And then I tell if you, they're like, man, that guy is so loud. It's just too much. So your tone modulation. I'll leave some of these things with Uncle Isaac. I was just trying to run through them, and then they'll be able to give them to you. Basically, have you ever walked into a place and then as a guy comes in looking so good, the perfume is right, until they speak? I'm like, Kawedem. You get what I'm saying, eh? So, yeah, project your voice, volume modulation, tone modulation, learn to listen, okay? Some of us, as you're giving your first words, you tend to talk too much before you even listen. Communication is two-ended. Your first words, your humor. Some of us like jokes, but you can start, because you want to make an impression, and you throw a joke that is so off. You throw a joke, really. The setting, the time, sometimes I pity comedians, but but usually it's because they've also done their what? Their research, right? Let me go to the next one. And then finally, remember the 7%, the actual words you say. Now, these actual words you say have a lot to do with also your intellect. With, what I mean is with what you put into your head. Some of us, our intellectual bank is empty. The only thing we know reflects. Okay, so what is Rema doing now? Like, big. What's this lady? Spice Dana Kati kugambanga for your conversations. On entertainers, Guamanyi buli kagudde, you're the one who knows every TikTok. Like I'm not saying TikTok is, but there are some of us who we just live our lives scrolling TikTok. Only the gossip part, and we are not adding into our knowledge what? Our knowledge bank, okay? So the actual words you say kind of like go back into your intellectual well-being. I'm going to first go on this part before I go into also social media in the things that we post. All right? By the way, all this is still in what? In etiquette, right? If you want to add on to your intellectual well-being, learn to read. The year has started. Today is 2nd January. Get a book, at least this year. If you're not a reader, okay, try to find books which, try to find the books that are most highly recommended. At least you try to read 2 books this year so that you add on to something on your intellect, okay? Okay, and then, wait, just before that. And then try to watch, you can watch documentaries, okay? You can listen to podcasts of different inspirational people. Sometimes we hear people, you hear someone and they give a quote, and you're like, my goodness, where did that come from? You listen to podcasts from Nelson Mandela, I love listening to, I love Joel Austin, I love T.D. Jakes, I like Joshua Selman. Some of you're saying, okay, who are those people? Like, if I need a one for the road, some kind of like motivation for that day, okay? Or for the week, I love to listen to podcasts because they also add to me. Listening to news. You people, my dad used to tell me, he used to force us a lot to listen to the news, all right? Like 7 p.m. He's like, guys, you need to learn to listen to the news because you may be here, but when there is a bomb, in the what? In the area, in the center, and that's what they are not advertising, that's what they are talking about. Nenga, for you don't know nada. You're not conversant with the things that are happening in your community, all right? So try as much as possible. At least get 30 minutes of news every day, just to know what is happening in your environment, so that you don't only know what's happening to Spice Dan and Rema. I remember there's a time I sat with a group of friends. They're quite, so I sat with them, and then they started talking about the situation in Ukraine, and then they started talking about the stock exchange, and then they said, Banange, I went back, I made a resolution that, you know what, at least every day, I'll listen to 15 minutes of CNN, just so that I can also have a relevant contribution when those conversations come up in circles. Have you ever gone to a place and people are talking and you have nothing to say? And and then they ask you about something and you're like, so then what's your opinion about this thing? And that's when you remember that the phone is ringing. So, okay. And then lastly on this one, on your intellectual well-being, learn to journal. Learn to journal, I mean, try to get a diary. Learn to write. When you write your thoughts, okay, it helps you when you pour out. Sometimes I call it brain dumping. It's when it helps to bring out your thoughts. It helps to articulate your thoughts and to line them up, and you're like, okay, so this is what has happened, this is what has happened. Okay, let me see how to make this better. There is power in a pen. You see this little pen here? Like a pen and a pencil. Those things have power. When you write, there's a way in which the Bible says in Habakkuk that write down the vision and make it plain on a tablet, and then a herald will run with it. Sometimes it's easier for you to track even yourself when you have written down. All right? Now, I'm going to first go a little bit, stay there. I'm going to go a bit on social media here, on social media etiquette. Share carefully, think before you post. You need to think before you post certain things, friends. Okay? So, when you're emotional, try to avoid posting when you're very emotional. First, let the emotions come down. What do I mean? Someone has broken your heart. Or your husband that day has annoyed you, for those who are married. Somehow, you tend to find quotes and things which are attacking those what? Those people. And that is what you put on your what? On your status. Or on your Facebook. When that thing comes out, even when you have moved past it, social media can really keep, I tell you. So you need to be careful. When you have started dating someone and you haven't yet taken it to the next level, and then you decide to post yourself kissing this person. Do you get what I'm saying? And then you break up in 2 weeks, but the post stays. Even if you put it down, someone will bring it out again after like 3 years, even 10. That's the thing about social media. You need to be careful what you post on your statuses, right? Then also, this one I found it funny. Don't avoid spoiling a surprise. Don't ruin a baby announcement or a bridal moment by sharing too early. Aren't you excited for your friend? So Faith tells me that I'm going to have a baby. What? You're going to have a baby? Faith is going to have a baby. You're the one posting on behalf of Faith. Has she given you permission? You get what I'm saying? Okay? So, try to, this was just a sideline or in regards to the actual words that you say. Let me go on to, I think it's the second last slide. Romans chapter 12 verse 2. It says, do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Avoid that this is who I am syndrome. Some of us, we overlike some of the things that I've said here, okay? Some of us have this thing of, but you know what? Faith, this is who I am. You just have to get used to me the way I am. Some of us have that syndrome. You know what? If you can't deal with it, it is okay. That is the way I am. In fact, with other people, they know me. They know me that's how I am. No. We always have to be transformed. All right? We always have to keep on renewing our minds and being flexible in having our own personal development. All right? A first impression does make a lasting impression. Sometimes it defines us to a person we shall never see again. Have you got that? Sometimes it defines us to a person we shall never see again. I may be here and I look at William. Okay, William, I know probably I'll see you again. But there are some people, there are spaces that you will walk into. And that will be the last time they will see you. And that will be their judgment of you. You get what I'm saying? Because of the way you showed up. So it's very, you need to be very careful how you present yourself, even with your emails, even on your social, on your social media, okay? Let's avoid as much as possible to put anything revealing or, because that's how people will perceive you to be. As I end, I just remember there's a Bruce, I think the ending, yeah? There's a Bruce Willis movie. I don't know if you know Bruce Willis, eh? I love action movies. So I love, there's a Bruce Willis movie I was watching some time back. And, well, somebody came and is it, when they kidnap you from inside the house, what is it called? Eh? Okay. Hostage. Yes, that's it. So, this guy was like a security person. Eh? So that he had a teenage daughter who was quite stubborn. So that day she had decided to dress gothic. You know what I mean by gothic? Yeah, black lipstick, black, everything was black. And then the kathingi was black, this and so the dad came, before the dad stepped out, was like, what's that you're putting on? It's like, dad, man, this, just, and you know sometimes how teenagers can be. So the dad was like, okay, but you see, sometimes when you do that, it will end up attracting the wrong kind of people towards you. I can never forget that statement. It will... But the way of it will just end up sending and attracting the wrong kind of people towards you. It will send the wrong signal. And then the dad left. Then when the dad left, that's when some guys, people came and broke into the house and kept the kids hostage, okay? Now, of course, you know how movies can be. So, 3 nights inside, and then the guys were inside for like 3 nights, and then this guy really got attracted to this babe, because, Yamulaba, he was his type. You get what I'm saying? So anyway, I think you've got the gist of that. But first impressions are also quite important, because sometimes that's the only way some people will get to define us. Happy New Year.
Thank you so much, Auntie Diana. How are you feeling, guys? When Auntie Diana was speaking, I remembered I'm a banker. And I remembered that we, in the office, we have a very strict dress code. And this dress code is communicated continuously, This is how you're expected to show up at work. And some time back, I asked our head of HR, but why do we have a strict? See, the guys who work in Apple, they show up in jeans and caps and what. For us, why do we have such a strict dress code? And she asked me, if you walked into a bank and the teller had, her eyebrows looking this side, she has red, spiky hair, she's chewing gum, her lips are blue, and she's saying, sorry, how much money is this? You want me to take your... Would you leave your money with that person? Most likely you would not. And the reason is, at that point in time, and for the transaction that you're doing, she is not inspiring trust and confidence that your money is safe. And that is really what etiquette is about, right? Knowing how to show up at the right time, for the right thing, in the right place, with the right people. It doesn't mean that you wearing slashed jeans is a problem. You just need to consider where you are going to wear them, and when, and who you're going to interact with. Sometimes when we make the wrong choices, it cuts off opportunities from us. So may God give us the wisdom to be able to know and to differentiate and to show up correctly. So when we came in this morning, we had expectations, right? Yes. Who says my expectations have been met? That is excellent. Who says my expectations have maybe 50-50? Okay, who says my expectations have not been met at all? What a waste of time. We don't fear feedback, eh? We don't fear feedback, because when we get that feedback, when we do this again next year, we will be better, right? So please don't fear to say if you feel maybe we could have done this better, okay? And if you don't want to say it here, you can still say it to any of us, Pastor Isaac, myself, Auntie Grace, Auntie Diana, Uncle Tony, and we'll take that feedback and make sure that next time we are able to give you something beautiful and worthwhile. I want to thank you so much for valuing yourselves so much and making the time to be better, to grow and to learn. We could have been like that guy in the Bible who planned this huge wedding and then the invited guests never showed up. And we would have had to go and stand there on the Bunamwaya road and ask people, do you want to come and attend a workshop? But all you guys came and you have made it really worthwhile. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask Pastor Isaac to come and give us a blessing as we leave.
Just to reiterate what my wife has shared, we are really, really grateful that all of you took the time off on a what? On a Thursday, a whole day at the start of the year to just come and be here and learn. And I'm sure that your lives will not be the same again. We're actually just having a side chat with Paul and a couple of other guys that probably what we should do is we should do this periodically. Maybe once a year or maybe every quarter, where we just gather like this, and then also we get to hear stories from you of the things that you'll have applied which we've actually learned, like today, where we come and say, okay, I went, I did this and this and this, and this is what worked and this is what did not work. Because that is how we all grow and sharpen each other. Amen. Amen. So otherwise, thank you so much for coming. Let us pray and bless our day. Father, we thank you so much for today. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your mercy. Thank you, Lord, for giving us an opportunity to start the year like this with new wisdom, with new knowledge, with new direction, with new understanding of the things that we need to do. Lord, I pray that by your Spirit, who is the Spirit of truth, you shall water each and every word that we have heard in this place, that we shall be able to do and apply everything that we have learned here to the glory of your name, Lord. May it bear fruit, and may those fruit remain not just for us, but for generations to come. We give you all the praise and all the glory. Father, I cover everyone with the blood of Jesus Christ as they travel back home from here. May this be the best year that anyone has ever had, Lord God of glory. May your favor rest upon us and the work of our hands, Lord, that we shall gather once again to share nothing but stories of victories won. We give you all the glory. We thank you for all our speakers, all the way from morning up to evening, the facilitators, everyone that has put in a hand in organizing this. Lord, I pray that you may bless them, that you may cover them with the blood of Jesus, that success shall be their portion in everything that they are doing because of the seeds that they have sown in us today. Thank you, Father. We honor you in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Amen and amen. Amen. And may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all now and forevermore. Amen.